Annihilation. Manchester United smashed to pieces, destroyed, humbled, and embarrassed by Newcastle United. I want to first start off because, see, being a Man United fan, there's elements of my club I want to speak about. I want to start off by saying a huge congratulations to Newcastle. They were by far the better team. Yes, there was a lot of mistakes from Man United this evening, but a large amount of them were forced as well, and we'll get on to those in a few moments. But the pressing, the energy, the quality on the ball today from the Tonalis, Bruno Guimaraes, Harvey Barnes with a brace, it was just tip-top. Alexander Isak, brilliant assist. Didn't have the best game by his standards, but what a luxury of brilliance they have where your best player or your best attacker doesn't have to be at his optimum best, and there are others that will step up and deliver. Jacob Murphy on the right. Newcastle United deserve to win today. There is no shadow of a doubt. There is no denying that. There is no debating it. They were by far the superior team, so congratulations to them. I can't see a world with the top 5 being Champions League places where they don't make it into the UCL next year. And when you look at them, you look at Forest, you look at Aston Villa's form, I think it's scary times ahead for Chelsea in relation to qualifying for that. And what was one massive element about this game today and why it was so important is Newcastle are chasing that Champions League position. For Man United, look, we're going to have our worst season ever in the Premier League era. It's going to be one of our worst seasons in the history of our football club. A lot of us had this horrible, sobering feeling many months ago this was going to happen. We should have changed the manager in the summer. We should have started this true rebuild of our philosophy, the squad, in the summer, as opposed to waiting through mid-season. We'll come back to United later. So in terms of our season, winning today wouldn't have changed too much about it either, if we're being honest. A win today would feel nice, but it wouldn't change the landscape of what has been a terrible and horrendous season. And Spurs maybe be below us by 1 place. And I like to dig out on a few Spurs fans because of the way they've attacked my club. And I just find it ironic, considering who you are compared to us. But our season has been much worse than Tottenham's. Far worse than Tottenham's. Far more painful. We're a bigger club. And to be where we are is far more embarrassing for us than them. There's no doubt about it whatsoever. But it was a massively important win for Newcastle. They thoroughly deserved it. Their form since sort of December, just before December really onwards, has been majestic. They've won that trophy. I actually think now they're second in the league from mid-December until this point in terms of the form table, which just shows how brilliant they have been. I think they've just gone ahead of Arsenal now in that time period. They've picked up a trophy in that time too. They've got so many players purring, as I mentioned, Murphy, Tonali, Harvey Barnes, keeping Anthony Gordon out of the team. That element of meritocracy is so important. Phenomenal. That's absolutely phenomenal. And I want to give them praise for that. From a Man United perspective, winning today doesn't change anything. Doesn't mean I didn't want to win. The injury to Xerxes actually pisses me off more than the loss. And I got some really funny tweets during the game when I said I'm gutted that he's out. It doesn't rain, it pours. Oh my God, you're overhyping a player. Well, no one said he's brilliant. No one said he's world-class. No one said he would get into any other top 6 team. But he's the best of what we've got. And I'm talking about the context of my club season, not how they compare to your team. So stop being so self-centered for a moment. It's terrible for us because there is still half a chance we win the Europa League. There is still half the chance we get ourselves into the Champions League next year. And I'm hopeful that next season that we will be a much better team and you will see exponential improvement throughout the course of next season. And I want to be in the Champions League. It also generates more money, which means we can buy more players because we are financially in a lot of trouble. So, yes, I'm gutted to see him go out. And that's the most disappointing part of the day. In terms of Man United's performance, look, I didn't expect us to be the better team than Newcastle at St. James's Park. We barely win here in recent years. They're a much better, they're a superior outfit to us at this particular moment in time. They're purring, and we struggle to win games. So there's no world where I expected this to be easy. There's no planet where I thought we were going to get this over the line, not in any capacity whatsoever. The frustrating element for me was the defensive mistakes today. And yes, some of that was born out of the pressure, the press, the relentless tactics of Newcastle. So I'm not going to take all the credit away from them. But the first goal, first of all, Victor Lindelof, a terrible pass. He is a bit of a yellow belly in those circumstances and puts us under pressure. Ugarte then with a bad pass, puts us under more pressure. And then there's this ball that's played in, and Lindelof is sold. And then what he then does, he leaves Lenny Yoro in no man's land. The ball gets played in, and Lindelof drops back, and Isak pulls forward and does him. Yoro then looks at it, and it's, well, if I go to Isak, Tonali's free. If I run with Tonali, there's room for Isak to take the ball into. Yoro did all he did all he could was try and close the distance on both. By the time Lindelof gets out to Isak, he just knocks the ball over. A wonderful finish, by the way. The pass from Isak and the finish from Tonali, world class. One of the best goals I've seen this season. There's no doubt about it. But Lindelof giving the ball away. I mean, I'm surprised statistically they haven't put it down to an error leading to a goal. I don't quite know how, but that's why those stats were a little bit off-putting, because if you watch it, everybody knows that's on Lindelof in terms of errors that led to it. We then get ourselves back into the game, ride a bit of a storm, get back into the game. A wonderful work goal. Ugarte won the ball back. Delo, that's been heavily criticized this year, picks the ball up, drives forward, plays in Garnacho. Excellent finish from him on his left foot into the bottom corner. And United were back in the game. And actually, when you look at the stats even now in that match, look, Newcastle touched the ball a lot more in our box than we did in theirs. But in terms of getting actual shots off on goal, it was only 12-8 by the end of the game and 6 on target to 5 on target for us. So we're in the match. If we can stay compact, if we can stay hard to break down and pounce on the counter. Now, obviously, we care more about Thursday's game than we do today. That's why there was the rotation in the starting 11 with Amas making his debut, Lindelof starting in this team, Eriksen starting. But you're still thinking, well, we're in this game. And then the second half begins, and we have a nice attack up the other end. I still think Xerxes should have held onto the ball for a little bit longer, but he plays in Delo, who goes looking for a penalty instead of maintaining possession. Now, I know what Delo's doing. He's hoping there's contact from Tonali and it's a penalty. There isn't. He looks stupid. When what he should have actually done is held onto the ball, waited for support. We had the ball in their box. We might have had a chance to get a shot off or even score. Who knows? The ball goes down the other end, though. And then Delo, again, I don't know why this isn't considered an error leading to a goal. It's a mistake in my eyes. He shows Livramento the way to goal, says, go on, I bet you can't beat me. And Livramento says, yes, I can. Bang. And he's past him. He crosses the ball into the back post. Murphy meets it. And then Lindelof just daydreaming in the middle. Yoro gets into the right position to stop any cutbacks that can go to the central areas. Lindelof's daydreaming. And by the time Lindelof wakes up, he can see Harvey Barnes coming in. Bang, 2-1. A stomach punch? Is that the word I'm looking for? A gut punch. I'm looking for a word that I can't think of. A sucker punch is what I'm looking for. Sucker punch really quickly in the second half. Then the annoying thing happens. Xerxes picks up his injury, and then Garnacho is taken off because he's clearly going to start against Olympiacos. We make the subs. We're trying to get ourselves back into the game. We're getting hold of some more of the ball. And the only player that made a mistake today that I'm not going to go in on is going to be Maz, because Maz overall this season has got some credit in the bank in terms of this campaign. There's a bit of pressure on him from Harvey Barnes, but he just slips. He slips, and then Barnes pounces. The touch, the speed, the finish from Harvey Barnes after that are out of this world, puts it into the top corner, and then it was game over. Then what I wanted to see, though, and I was watching Amorim on the sideline screaming, telling United to stay compact, be sensible, don't take stupid risks. Let's get through this next 30 minutes. If we can score a goal, great. Relax. And just so many more mistakes. And Bayern look, it's really annoying that the Onana conversation, Onana isn't good enough. But I keep seeing Man United fans have debates on Man United channels, on neutral channels. Why does Onana keep playing? There are people that think the Bayern is genuinely an answer to this situation. Do not let the second half of that Arsenal game cloud your mind and judgment. Don't let from the penalty save until the final whistle cloud your judgment. In all the other appearances before that, he looked vulnerable with every cross that came into the box, fumbled a lot of balls, average at best with the ball at his feet. He is not a solution. Doesn't mean Onana is. What we have at United right now is no solution. There is no solution to our goalkeeping issues. And there's a comment here saying, is Heaton getting the next game? He'll make mistakes as well, Baz. It's just a problem that needs fixing in the summer. There's nothing that can be done. I felt sorry for Bayern there. I'm not calling him out, but Man United fans have got to just drop this debate. There is no solution within our squad. I wouldn't even give the games to a young kid, because if you give a young kid a chance now, do you know what the media are going to do? They're going to make an absolute mounting out of a molehill. The pressure may be too much. I wouldn't do it. You know, I don't want to see Onana in a Man United kit, but I don't want to see Bayern there either. I want to see neither of them play for this football club as the main goalkeeper. They're just not good enough. But he makes that final mistake. Awful pass. Joe Linton gives it to Gomares. 4-1. United are battered. United are embarrassed. And as I say, the most important thing today was to get through the game without an injury, be ready and prepared for the Lyon game. That didn't happen. Xerxes injured. The next best thing was, well, can we be strong defensively today, as we've seen us be in a number of games more recently with a better defensive structure? Awful today. And I know that only really Lenny Yoro will be one of these centre-backs at the club in the future, and he was our best and youngest and our best today. And we know we've got a number of injuries to these areas, but it was just embarrassing, frustrating, and just so annoying, that performance today. And I'm not saying that to take anything away from Newcastle. Spent the opening period of this video, as new people may not have heard it, but I spent the opening period, congratulating them and praising Newcastle because they thoroughly deserved it. But it was an embarrassment for Man United today. And I'm sure the manager is going to get a lot of stick and a lot of criticism. And he did make, I suppose, I think, I look at it as a mistake. I get why he rotated the team. I understand that he's trying to keep Maguire, who only just got back from injury, doesn't want to rush Mount, doesn't want to rush, more importantly, Mainu, because hopefully we make the semi-finals, hopefully we make the finals of the Europa League, and those games are going to be more important than these Premier League games. But today just indicated more than anything how important this summer transfer window is, how much we need to raise the technical floor, and we need to raise the physicality of this team. Because the one thing that stood out to me the most, Newcastle have a better technical floor than we do, not denying it. But where there is a bigger gulf is the physical attributes. They are just faster, quicker, have more acceleration, and more power and strength than us. It's as simple as that. And it's man v boys out there when we play most sides. It really, really is. So just horribly disappointing. Gutted by the result. Gutted by the injury to Xerxes. And congratulations to Newcastle. Absolutely terrible. Sully here says, I'm just waiting for Thursday. If we get knocked out, sack Amorim. I wouldn't trust him with 200 million. What have you seen since he came in? Well, look, me and you have had this conversation before. I think the base of how we want to play is there. I'm not going to blame him for Delot making that defensive mistake. I'm not going to blame him for Lindelof getting sold on a pass. I'm not going to blame him for Mads falling over. I'm not going to blame him for the two goalkeepers at the club that were purchased before he arrived not being good enough and one of them making a mistake today. So I'm not putting that on him. I'm giving him a summer and I'm giving him next season at the very least. But for me, whatever we've started needs to be finished. You want him sacked. That's what you could. I'm not going to challenge your opinion. You know I see it differently. You're entitled to say sack Ruben Amorim. You're entitled to say that he isn't good enough. You're entitled to say that he shouldn't have any money to spend. It's fair enough. If you think that, you think that. I'm honestly not going to debate people over it, because all we're going to do is I'm going to say my bit. You're going to disagree. I'm just going to respect your opinion. If you think he doesn't deserve any money, if you think he's accountable for why we look the way we look today, I'm just going to respect your opinion. I'm not going to fight it. New scouting rule. New players must have elite football IQ. Sick of 2 or 3 simple mistakes every game. See, that for me is, you can, it might go into the IQ category. That for me goes into concentration and, I wouldn't call it bottle, concentration and their ability to handle pressure. And I give you an example. Maybe the most technically gifted player on the pitch today for us, I know he's physically not there, is Eriksen. But the amount of times balls come to him in difficult positions and the ball bounces off his foot like he doesn't have technique. It's handling the pressure as well. One, being in a Man United shirt, but also being in a very hostile ground. But you look at a young man like Harry Amas. Technically, weren't really putting a foot wrong today. He's young and inexperienced, and he's never played at this level before, but looked far more up for it and far more concentrated than players like Eriksen, who's going in the summer. So IQ, yes, but we need people that can pick the game up by the scruff of the neck and have a bit of a backbone. Not once did we even play through Newcastle's press. We struggled with it, absolutely struggled. And do you know why we struggle to play through a press, though? See, some people will put that down to technical ability. Part of it is. The other element, and that, by the way, we did at times, I did see us do some good patterns. The reason why we struggle to play through the press is because to play through the press, sometimes you need a player to drop a shoulder and knock the ball past the man and accelerate a few yards and then pass the ball on. The problem is we lack that acceleration and power in our team. When Man Utd came on, we were able to do it better because Man Utd has the technical ability and much better power than the rest of our midfield that were out there today. That for me is a physical element. So with Newcastle, there was a few moments where you can maybe beat. Delo did it a couple of times today where he got in front of a man and was able to use his power and speed to stay ahead of Joe Linton. We actually created a decent chance from it. But we don't have enough players that can do that. Garnacho often beats his man. Watch him. He'll drop a shoulder. His first touch will be okay. He'll get the ball past an opponent. He'll get his body past them. Within 3 or 4 strides, the opponent's caught up with him. That is a power issue. Purely and simply, power and strength. And when you've got good power and strength, you typically can have good acceleration. And that first 5 to 10 yards in football is more important sometimes than your top speed because it gets you away from somebody. And it's one of the, I hope the scouts are looking at that almost more than the, I want the technical ability to be good, but we really in the Premier League need more strength and power. Man v boys today. Outside of the club having the balls to drop Onana, this is another predictable arse whooping. Like at this point, Thursdays are the season. We shouldn't even be watching weekends. Look, I kind of hear you. I mean, I did have a Spurs fan say the weirdest thing to me. I praised our goal when it went in because it was a nice goal. And he went, I can't believe I don't know his exact words now. I'm going to go back and find his exact words. And I'm a bit like, I get where you're coming from, Josh, but it's not how my mind works. What did I say? I said, and I quote, I can't find it. Brilliant from Ugarte in the middle. Great drive from Delo. Garnacho with a gorgeous little finish. And it was. He said, honestly, how can you even keep remotely positive about your lot is beyond me. I said, I'm just praising a very good goal. Doesn't mean I won't criticize the elements that are poor. And it concluded with him saying that because we're 13th, I shouldn't even celebrate goals or good moments. I can't do that. It's not in my makeup. And then by that logic, what we say in the top 4, 5, 6 teams can celebrate. That means everyone else in English football doesn't celebrate goals. Like extrapolate out like what's being said, and it's mental. So it isn't that we should give up on it. For me, though, I think what today again has done, and this is a positive from it, is it's again showing players that we need to move on. And that's what I'm hoping that they're looking at here, because you add better quality players technically and more speed and power into this team, these results will start to look different next season. I'm not saying we're going to St. James's Park and battering them 4-1. I'm not making any stupid claims like that. But there will be a fundamental difference in the results next season with those two things being done. Just 5, 6 players with higher technical flaws, better speed, power, and strength, and you will see Man United win double the amount of games next season across all competitions, at the very least, in my view. Doesn't mean we're going to win a league title. It's going to take 2 or 3 windows to even potentially get to that level. But for me, that's why I'm watching it more, for who stands out, who does well, who makes more mistakes. So it helps me in terms of the judgment of players, I suppose. Very impressed with the shape and identity. Back Amorim. Thank you. As a Liverpool fan, I pray Amorim gets a lifetime contract next season. Relegation, very lucky it's not this season. Big Ange is way better manager. So I am going to screenshot this because you're a long-term viewer. So you think relegation's happening next season, and that's good. Do you know what? I'm going to give you praise. I'm going to give you a lot of credit though, Ola, because you, unlike a lot of rivals, don't actually give an opinion. You just say shit. So fair play to you. If you think we're going to get relegated next season, because we're lucky not to get it this year, we'll address this in a year's time. I think you'll see a much better Manchester United team next season if he's backed if the club back the squad, back the manager in the window and buy some quality, add some more speed and power. I don't think we'll be anywhere near this point next season. But you see it differently, and I want to congratulate you, Ola, because at least you've had the balls to say it. Cheers, Terry. Love the show. What's your opinion on Mason Mount? I mean, we're still not. It can't be. I mean, maybe you've not been watching the show. Shouldn't have signed him. Body's made of biscuits. I have no idea what we're going to do with him. Hopefully, he stays fit for the rest of the season and we can loan him out in the summer. That's what I hope. That's what my hope is on that one. Yeah, I can't say much more. I can't say much more than that. I can't say, bro is screenshotting banter. No, Ola means it. You guys are not doing this for banter. You guys are giving real opinions, right? There we go. And now he can't see a bit of banter going back in the other way. But there we go. There we go. If Man United sign better players, will improve in the league. If we sign absolute drosh, I don't think we'll get much better. You're not telling me I'm not allowed to use that if in football analysis now, am I? Come on. You can't be telling me that a Man United fan can't use that if. Come on. Fucking hell. How many times did your mum drop you on your head as a baby? How many times? At least 4. 3 or 4. Like Sloth from the Goonies. Come on now, my old mate. You can't mean that. You can't mean that. But there we go. Look, if you do it. Lorenzo here says Terry loves having a go at City, Chelsea, and Tottenham, but will defend Arsenal and United to the hill and back. They can never do no wrong. Absolutely embarrassing. If you, Lorenzo, if you think today I have just defended and purely praised Man United, if that's your interpretation of what I've said, my brother, we'll just agree to disagree. If that is what you have heard me say when talking about our goalkeepers and the mistakes and the problems and what we've got to fix, and over the last few weeks talking about my strikers, talking about the lack of wingers and speed and pace and power and IQ, if all of that is deemed as defending Man United, then we will agree to disagree, my brother. We really, really will. And I hope you and your lovely lady wife in the photo are having a wonderful Sunday afternoon together whilst you're online lying about me. Let's have a look here. 3 hours ago, Terry was laughing at someone saying, listen, this is the thing, Mike. See, you've missed it. It's not football gods thing. So the reason why I laugh at where Tottenham are is because all season, Tottenham fans have gone in on Man United like they're not in historically a worse position because of what we've won, and they're not awful. I found it weird, is why I laugh. Because for me, yes, as my job here, I'll criticize teams that look good and look bad, but I won't use my club as a hammer, for instance, to hit Chelsea over the head with, because it's ridiculous. Because they're in a better situation than we are, as an example. But I've had Spurs fans use their club as a hammer to hit me over the head with. I find it ironic and funny. That's the difference. If a Spurs fan says, like Kate doesn't. Kate, Henry, perfect. They don't go, I'm Tottenham, I'm super Tottenham. You're crappy Man United. They say Man United are bad and this needs to improve and this is crap and this is good and this is da-da-da-da. And they speak about their club in isolation. You've misunderstood, my bro. It's gone over your head. Sorry, my G. Sorry, bro. I'm sorry about that. Man United are still building, but managed to win an FA Cup and League Cup. By the way, we didn't win any of that under this build. The build started after those moments. We have to remember that as well. Arsenal could have done that. Yeah, look, listen, I would swap places with where Arsenal are right now in terms of being as good as them, being in title races, probably going to be in a Champions League semi with a balanced squad and a team that plays good football. I'd rather be where they are right now. I wouldn't rather swap clubs. I'd rather be where they are than Man United, because I think you've always got a higher chance of winning trophies being a team playing as well as them than playing as poorly as us. But again, like I just said, I'm not going to use Man United winning an FA Cup as something to beat a team over the head with who's in a much better position than we are moving forward. I hope to be in a better position than them in a few years. But yeah, that's a strange thing to do. Conceded 6 goals in the last 2 games. 4 of them were individual mistakes. I can't believe the manager is being discussed. This is the thing, Harrison. Of course he'll be discussed. It's the same as I've seen people online try and blame Lenny Yoro for the first goal and not Lindelof. But that's because they know there's no point targeting Victor Lindelof because it's pointless. There's no point targeting the goalkeepers. There isn't no point targeting most of the players that have made mistakes of the goals, barring Maz, are players that everybody knows are going to be moved and sold on by the club over the next 18 months, 2 years. So it's not fun to focus on that. It's focus on the manager and try and wind Man United fans up. The manager isn't at fault for either of Onana's 2 mistakes. And by the way, I'm putting all 4 goals today down to somewhat there being mistakes in them. First goal, for me, Lindelof's defending could be so much better. He should be tighter to Isak. Maybe he still gets the touch and ball over the top, but it's very, very different. The way he showed Liverpool, the way, basically, you ever seen a fighter hold their chin out in boxing and go on, hit me, and then they get hit and get knocked out? That's what Delo did to Livramento. What a pleb, right? I think they're both mistakes. The next 2 goals were clear errors. So, yeah, as I say, Newcastle deserved it today. I'll take nothing away from them. But if people want to attribute those mistakes to the manager, I just say let them do it, bruv. I don't think there's any point debating these individuals. You remember that famous scene in The Dark Knight where Alfred and Bruce Wayne are talking? And Alfred tells him about the story about the man that was stealing these gems from these like dangerous people. I don't know where, somewhere in the world. And then they were finding these gems. Kids were playing with them in the stream. He was stealing them and creating carnage purely because he liked carnage. That's what the football fans saying that are doing. It's just a bit of banter. Don't give in. There'll be some numbskull somewhere else doing that. Don't give in to it, Harrison, right now. And by the way, the manager may end up not being right in a year, 18 months, and I go, see, I told you. But remember, they're spaghetti people. They're just throwing spaghetti at wall and hoping it sticks. We all know the manager isn't at fault for the majority of these goals in the last couple of games. So I wouldn't even entertain those conversations personally, but feel free to do what you want. Then why do you always use the if for a good scenario, never for a bad one? Where is the balance? Because the question is, how are you going to improve, or how do you see things going next season? So when you ask me, how do I think we're going to improve? It comes with an if, but the question is about how does it improve? How do we get better? So of course there's a positive connotation because it's about how the Man United get better. But I've used this for the last 10 years on social media as well, Mr. Garcia. If Man United didn't change their structure, if Man United didn't bring in better football decision makers, if we don't have a club philosophy, if we are just building a squad for a manager and will change the entire philosophy if he leaves for any particular reason, if those things happen, I've always stated the club will sit in its demise. So I do use if in the opposite way as well. But because you like hearing Man United connected to bad things, you don't get cognitive dissonance. It's because you hear a positive outcome that you start looking for a way to debunk it because it makes your mind go funny. So I use if. Everybody uses if. Every pundit, every football coach. Amorim's going to sit there. Forget Amorim because you guys don't like him. Arne Slot is going to turn around to FFG and say, we need X, Y, and Z in the summer. If we don't, this may happen. If we do, this could happen. The fact that people get weirded out by the word if when talking about the future, very strange to me. Is this the worst ever first 30 plus games for a new manager? Yeah, it is. It is. Without a doubt, it is. And that could continue next year. There is the possibility with poor recruitment. And if the manager isn't good at, here we go. See, here we go. Organic. We're doing the organics here. If the manager doesn't improve the team when those new players come in, if the manager is a bust, as some people claim him to be, we could see this happen again next year. That is definitely a possibility. Just because I don't think that will happen doesn't mean it isn't a possibility that's open-minded. So, of course, at the same time, there's some of us that understand why we think it's been poor, that always knew it would be somewhere close to this bad when you rip everything out and start again. You remember, we are fixing a giant hole in the side of an oil tanker, trying to turn it round in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. This isn't a rowing boat, in a little stream somewhere with a tiny minuscule hole. It's a very different scenario. But I hope, by the way, Mr. Garcia, that those ifs kind of, you enjoyed those ifs. You know what I mean? Too many ifs. Sorry, bruv. Too many ifs. If I let you go, I will never know. Liverpool win. And Paddy Cook sesh, what a weekend. Yeah, Paddy was fucking good last night. The improvement in Paddy Pimblett over the past 2.5 to 3 years is amazing. There's irony in that, though. I'm not going to tell you what the irony is, right? Do you know what the irony is? You'd listen to DC, you'd listen to Rogan, you'd listen to Dean Thomas, you'd listen to Chow Sunnett, and they would all say this. Legends of the game. They would all, do you know what they would say? If Paddy Pimblett learns to put his chin down more, if Paddy Pimblett does this, they would all say if Paddy does these things. One of the biggest things against Paddy was if he could stay in better shape between fights and not blow up so big, his training camps could be more about strategy than getting off the weight. If he could do that. The idea you can't use if in sports, fuck me, Pink. It's hilarious. Do you know what? I think challenging the if is ignoring the argument. It's like the copium and the crime or responses. They can be funny, but most of the time they're just shit. I can't think of anything like with any quality to say, so I'm just going to go, oh, if. Yeah. It's like listening to a dog bark at a fence. United's issues are legacy. The last 12 years, yes, not on Amorim. Yeah, let's just forget the last 12 years happened. Let's forget the last 12 years happened. Let's forget how we got here. Yeah, do you know they say in life? Shit. I'm going to do it again. I'm so sorry. Because you realize it's there. If you ignore your history, they believe you're damned to repeat it again. Shit, it's got an if in it. Fuck. Who said that? Who said that saying? If you ignore, I might not have said it quite, history, you are bound to repeat it, right? If you forget your history, who said this? There must be someone famous who said it. Oh, it's somebody called George Santayana. Said in, fuck you, George, for saying if. Fuck you, you bastard. How did you not know? How did you not know 120 years later, people watching football YouTube would hate the word if? You bastard, George. You bastard. Fucking hell, George. Stop living in the past. Oh, sorry. Oh, so someone said it's Mark Twain. Oh, Mark Twain, that twat. Yeah, fuck you for saying if, Mark Twain. I love it. Terry didn't even understand the question. Oh, no. What? Did I not? It wasn't a question. That was a statement. That isn't a question. And then what this question? Then why do you always use if for a good thing? I definitely use it for negative as well. I answered the question. Unless that means something else. Let me know in the comment section below. Your 14th. Ladies and gentlemen, we have found Sherlock Holmes. We've found Sherlock Holmes. We're 14th. Fucking hell. I didn't know. I've been searching, right, on the Tinternet for hours. I couldn't find the Premier League table. I didn't know. Oh, thank you. Honestly, I needed that reminder. Saves me using any more of the internet. It's dial up. It's slow. It's dial up. Do you know what I mean? I was about to send a fucking carrier pigeon to London to find out where we were. Thank you. Thank you very much indeed. What is improvement next season? He's lowered the standard so much. Well, he hasn't lowered the standard. Again, that you saying he's lowered the standard, it means you haven't been listening to him. Means you haven't been taking in what he has said. What is improvement next season? Abdul, you disagree with 95% of what I say. So you tell me what you think a reasonable amount of improvement and an exceptional amount of improvement will be, and then tell me what you think will happen. It's a lot easier than us getting into a debate. But I don't believe Ruben Amorim has lowered the standards at Manchester United. It isn't lowering the standards to strip things back to create a clear path forward. That is quite literally what most businesses, what most personal trainers, it's what I'm going to do when I rebuild my house. To rebuild it in the way I want, I have to knock most of it down. I can't build up on top of things that I don't need. So it's a very normal way to operate. It's not lowering standards. It's not lowering standards in any way, shape, or form. We had to strip this club back. And did you know how you know he isn't lowering standards? You're gonna disagree with it because you don't want to hear this, but it's the truth. He has literally said, I don't want to be a manager that keeps saying we've got to take years and years and years and years. I want to get the team back, and I want us to get back to winning league titles. When he says that, the same people that say he's lowered the standards go, he's deluded if he thinks he's winning the league, so he can't win. If he mentions wanting to get Man United back to winning league titles, it's called deluded. When he speaks about it taking time to get his team to purr and be ready to push forward, you say he's lowering the standards. The problem is he'll never be able to win. So as I say, I'm not going to argue and debate you. Just tell me what you think. It's a much quicker process for us, please, Abdul. Thank you, mate. Terry, what are your current standards? I don't know what that means. I don't understand what your question means. I don't have current standards for the season. I have a standard of where I want Man United to get back to, but I understand how long it takes to get there. There is one standard, but it's having a brain and knowing that you can't go from where we were to being back to our peak in 1 year, 2 year, maybe even 3 years. If you think it can be, show me the examples of why you're right. Been asking for that now for 3 years. No one's provided me with one example. Because I'm fucking right, my old mucker. Because I'm spot on, and you all know it. Doesn't mean, by the way, we're going to get it right, but you can't show me an example of why I'm wrong. So let's just move on from that conversation, please, because it's jarring. All 32 games are his fault. Yeah, it must be. All 32 games are Amorim's fault. His fault we signed Fellaini. His fault we're in debt. His fault for the redundancies. His fault Fergie got old. His fault the Glazers came in. Amorim's fault. Blame Amorim for everything. Blame him for everything. Sack him. Sack Amorim today. Clip it up, please. Some dickhead will. Just clip that little bit out. Put it out there. I dare you. Yep, sack Amorim. He's at fault for everything that has ever gone wrong at Manchester United. I know, by the way, AMT, you're not saying that. You're being sarcastic. And so am I. Keep Amorim. Us rivals love him. Yeah, of course you do. Of course you do. Right, let's bring the panel out now to have their say. We've got Toon Tactics, we've got Strasbourg Steve, we've got Sonshine and Judge Mo. Welcome to the show, gentlemen. I'm going to go to the Toon Army first of all and say congratulations on your win. Thoroughly deserved today. Toon Tactics, talk to me, bro.
How you doing, sir? I hope everyone is well. Myself, Terry, Footy Judge Mo, all the panel, all the chat. Yeah, incredible game. From start to finish. I actually thought in the first half, in terms of Man United, just that you guys moved the ball really well, especially when you do come out there like beyond the halfway line. You guys were there was a few opportunities that you kind of had against us, especially that one touch between Xerxes, Bruno. I forgot what the first guy was, and I think who shot it? Was it Xerxes that shot it? And I think Pope saved it.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty good, and I was thinking, right, if we're going to get more of this, then it's going to be a really tough game. And I was saying the first half did end up being quite competitive as well. The goal that we scored with Tonali, though, oh my word, absolutely incredible. I mean, Isak didn't have the greatest. I'm sure Isak might say that the first touch was intentional, but I took it as it was a missed touch and it went up, and then it flicked it over, and then Tonali did incredible finish. You guys obviously scored through Garnacho. Very, very similar goal that we conceded against Brighton actually when we came out in the FA Cup game as well. And he had a really good finish, Garnacho, as well. And so coming into that second half, I was like, okay, let's see what we've got. And obviously Eddie Howe, I don't know if you guys are aware, he's currently hospitalized. Like he's not been, he's been away sick. Like not we don't even know what's going on with him. So obviously you're thinking the influence of the manager, the gaffer, but the fans, the players did it for him really. Like you guys kind of came at the wrong time where you can really see that the players who were going to play for him, they weren't going to show him up like that. And look, I think I wanted to first say like big up to Harvey Barnes because it's been difficult for him to try and get his place over Gordon. And the biggest compliment I can give to Harvey Barnes is that we haven't missed Gordon. He's been playing angry Barnes, which I've been liking a lot, meaning that usually when he makes mistakes or isn't having a great game, his head is down, he's despondent. But like nowadays, he's like if you're not getting him the ball or if he makes a mistake, he's barking, he's angry, he's running, he's doing all that he can. And even I think his confidence has been shown through the second goal that he scored, where obviously I forgot who we dispossessed in your midfield, but he ran with it and he had the option of passing it over to Isak and he didn't. He took it on. And I think a roof of the net finish, absolutely brilliant. And then Bruno Gomes obviously rounded things up for us and reminded people who the real Bruno is. And no, it was a fantastic game. We're showing that obviously we're chasing Champions League. We're fourth now. We've been winning ugly. We've most of our games, I think. But this is probably the first performance where we're not actually tip top. We didn't really get out of second or third gear, but out of possession, I thought the plan from Man United was interesting. It seemed like you guys were trying to suck us in terms of like getting to your half and press you so you can hit us in the break, which worked for a bit. But we've been really, like, despite not playing the greatest, like on our games, off the ball, we've been really, 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 really good. And I thought you're kind of playing to our strengths by doing that. But fair play, 4-1, really, really happy. Got Crystal Palace next, obviously, this weekend. And just to help us to capitalize on, it's important for us to capitalize and really cement our spot for the Champions League spot. But yeah, really, really happy. That was for, obviously, Eddie Howe. That was for the Toon Army. Yeah. A big up to everyone, and again, respect to the panel, to all the Man United supporters and the players as well.
Yeah, appreciate. I mean, look, you got your game in hand midweek against Palace at home. Win that, and you actually go third. You go ahead of Nottingham Forest.
4 points behind Arsenal. Yeah,
yeah, 4 points. Look, I personally don't see you guys missing out on Champions League football now this season, and that's just it's momentum. There'll be 6 games left after that. You're playing well, and it isn't just Isak's goal. Like I said earlier, I know his assist was really good for the goal, but when you can have a game where Isak overall, remove that assist, he probably was a 6 out of 10 today. He wasn't but this is a compliment to Newcastle. When your best attacker can have a 6 out of 10 overall performance,
exactly.
But you've got Murphy, you've got Barnes, you've got Gordon coming on, you've got your midfield, you've got too many players in form in a system, the irony of wanting to always sack managers early, that's now been implemented for 3 or 4 years, that's had its ups and downs, but it's a team where you've got it's a side that understands how to play. You know each other's movements. Your second goal, the Harvey Barnes one, the ball comes in. Murphy knows if I knock that ball back across that 6-yard box, someone's going to be there because they understand the patterns of play, and not just you put all that together. I just don't see a world where you miss out now on Champions League football. And, you know, that they had a bad result today. I think look, Man United are awful. We know about us and we'll speak to United boys. Probably the biggest casualty really this weekend out of all these results has been Chelsea in terms of Champions League push, because Villa look really good. City haven't looked good all year, but you just know they're going to be there or thereabouts. And you know, I mean, I suppose Forest have lost 2 on the bounce, but in fairness to Forest, their next game's against Tottenham, so it's a win, isn't it? You know what they're like. But yeah, brilliant, Steve. Yourself, you guys are just absolutely purring at the moment. You got so many players in form. You must be feeling confident after that win today.
No, of course. I thought we stepped up big time second half, because I thought the first half at times crossing wasn't quite there. We were winning the 50-50s and we were doing some good things on the build-up, but the final ball at times or just something was a bit off. I thought Euro, to be fair, first half was really good for you guys. But second half, I just think the early goal, I mean, goals change games. It's as simple as that. We score early, and I think there's just a level that you guys drop to, and it doesn't we played to a good level, and it looked outstanding. I thought it was really silly that Man United played the way that they did today because of, I mean, I'm going to point out Bayindir in particular with the five. I counted 5 passes. He's on the ball and he passes straight down the middle.
Yeah.
That's a cardinal sin. I learned that when I was young playing hockey. You clear down the boards. Hockey, soccer, very similar. When you're in your own defensive half, you never, ever pass up the middle. Nothing good hardly ever comes out of it. And so I thought I capitalized on your mistakes. Midfield battle, felt in full control all the time, winning just so many 50-50s in the air, on the ground, near the halfway line. You guys didn't in the second half. You didn't get really near our goal in any dangerous fashion. To be I don't think Pope's best save that he had to make was in the first half on the Xerxes one. About in the
the Garnacho one. Was that Garnacho one in the second half? The one when
no, there was in the So in the first half, that you had the Xerxes shot, and then there was the goal, and then there was the good save from Garnacho late in the second half.
But then second half, absolutely nothing from Man United. I just thought, no matter which way Man United obviously I just criticized the way you played about like inviting our press, but at the same time, it's like, what are you going to do? Go long against Dan Burn?
This is also it. I agree.
So I stylistically, whatever approach you took, we had the athleticism or the ball winning, the tenacity to cope with whatever you wanted to do.
Would you look, you're a better team than us. This is the fundamentals. Exactly. You're a better team than us right now. And I feel, and not every Newcastle fan will like hearing this, Man United rivals will hate it. You deserve to win. A couple of the goals came from especially the fourth goal. I think that's an unforced error. I mean, it's just, there's not even any pressure on Bayindir as an example. So there were some mistakes from us. I felt we were going to lose today. 2-1, 2-0, 3-1, maybe anyway. Like, I wasn't really the fourth goal kind of pissed me off because it's like, okay, it's getting to a scoreline now, which is become embarrassing.
I think it was a forced error because there was a culmination of like everything that's happened led up to that. And if you kind of see it, like he kind of has no options, and he's already worried that either Gordon or someone's going to come through the flanks. So he's thinking he can get it over Joe Linton's head. He's just panicked by this time because the guys are closing down on him, and that's why I kind of.
And he's watching his team getting schooled.
He's what? Yeah.
And this is the thing: we just have players are not good enough up there, as you say. And I agree with what you said, Steve, about where he cleared the ball. It's nowhere near. And we had a big debate about Onana the other night, and I stand by what I said. I don't want to see him play for us again. The issue, I said it on the show.
And got on Thursday. I'm dead serious.
The thing is with Onana, look, he has got mistakes in him. At the end of the day, though, honestly, if I had to pick between the two between now and the end of the season, I'm still picking Onana. And I got cooked on Thursday for saying, look, anyone who thinks Bayindir is going to say he had a good period against Arsenal. If you go back and watch the full-length game against Arsenal before the penalty save, every cross that comes in, he's flappy. He's not very good with his feet. And I'm not saying the problem is we live in the polarized world, don't we? Oh, you saying Onana's amazing? No, I think they're both shit. But
Heaton. I'm genuine. I'm being so serious. I would go with Heaton if I'm Amorim, because this guy's confidence now is shot by India. It's done. It's over.
I think for Onana,
Onana's a lost cause. So what do you do if option A awful, option B did what he did today? What option C? Heaton.
Yeah,
literally, like he. The worst case scenario with Heaton is that he's just as bad as the other two.
But the thing is,
if you play the game of chance, chances are he'll at least be a little bit better.
Yeah, the thing is,
maybe he could be better.
The thing is going to have a snowball effect, because if Man United then go into a third goalkeeper and you get like a crazy performance again, it's going to go look worse. Onana was best suited for this game because you guys get him playing out the back, kind of. But it's Onana's shot stopping that's the problem. The thing is, Onana unnecessarily brought on a lot of heat on himself because of the whole Leon situation. And then, like, he's coming to St. James's Park, and they're going to be on him. Like they're going to be so on him for like.
Mate, I hear you. And look, the other side of it, and we'll get Sunshine's view on this in a minute as well. It was also one of these things. I resigned myself to a defeat when I saw the starting lineup as well. And it's not a dig at Lindelof or Amas or Eriksson being in central midfield. We clearly prioritized Thursday's game as well. You know, Bruno. Okay, I even think when he took Garnacho, I think he took Garnacho off because of the injury to Xerxes. And he went, we can't afford to lose someone else. Because again, and this is the problem. It's so hard to have these conversations because when I tweeted about Xerxes being injured, the amount of people that have tweeted, I've just muted them all now because you realize they're toasted people. They're like, why are you overhyping him saying he's a good player? I didn't. He's the best I've fucking got. Do you know what I'm saying? Like if I drive a car, if I've got a banger, if I've got an old banger of a car that barely works and is crap, but I need it to get to work. If it breaks down, if it breaks down, like, shit, my car broke down. Why are you saying you got a Ferrari? No, I don't think it's a Ferrari. I just need the car. Some people are so but that's virgins for you. That's basement virgins. You know what I mean? That's the problem. That's virgins. That's virgins.
No, I also did want to say, Barnes. I was talking about this with Philip about Barnes.
Yeah.
We were debating on his channel about Barnes maybe the one to go or Willock. I think now we see Barnes. This guy is more than good enough to be a second choice to Gordon. Because I'm telling you right now, bar Eddie Howe thinking about rotation just because of fatigue and again getting towards the end of the season with no injuries, so that everyone in the summer can take their summer break and not have to do rehab for a possible injury. I think Barnes starts again and does good in ahead of Gordon. And you need those kind of guys when we're trying to climb up the league and win more cups. So I do think we'll keep him around because now Barnes is seeing, okay, if I play good, it doesn't even matter if Gordon, once Gordon comes out of the team and I produce and we win, I play no matter what.
Yeah.
And I think
Harvey Barnes. Yeah, Harvey Barnes. I remember when he broke through at Leicester, and there was he was linked to quite a few clubs. And he's one of those players that, for one reason or another, probably his passport. We had this conversation the other day, Mo, didn't we? Probably his passport. Don't want him overrated. The kid has got good technique. He's powerful, quick. He can finish. Finisher. He's been a very, very good signing for Newcastle. How much you get him for?
35, 40.
35, yeah.
This is where, as well, like football fans got to realize not every player has to be a 70, 80, 90, 100 million pound
100%.
purchase. You know, it's crazy that there are lots of very good players out there you can buy that can improve a team and improve a squad. You don't need, it doesn't always need to be the superstar. I'm obviously going to come to Mo in a minute. Sunshine, a terrible result for us today as United fans. How do you feel about it? Heavy rotation, an injury in there for Xerxes. Season's already over. Or do you think, no, this needs a lot more attention than being dismissed as many have done?
Well, the result was cat shit, wasn't it? Let's just be honest. Let's just get that out of the way. The result was absolute cat shit. Stinks. Let's be honest. You can call about the rotation and stuff like that. I don't think anyone went into that game, even if we went with a stronger. I don't think
11. You have a strong 11. Yeah.
I'm not going to say strong 11, but stronger 11. Let's say we did that. I don't think we still walk away with a win. I think at best you get a draw against a very good Newcastle team based on current form this season. So it was always a tall order for us to at least keep up with Castle. Even when we scored the goal, I didn't feel confident that we could go and get a win because just the manner of the goal, it was like a little bit of a counter, nice little build-up play, and then Garnacho respectfully, in my opinion, was a scuffed finish, rolled off the post and in. He doesn't score enough of them for me to say that was normally what he does, from being honest. So I feel like he just got the rub of the green off the shot. But it doesn't mean it wasn't a good goal. It was well deserved. I just don't think that he's got that in his caliber to do that quite often. Therefore, I think we just rub of the green for that finish. And that being said, when you go in at 1-1, you don't expect to come out and lose. If anything, I would have been happy if Amorim told the team to sit back and hit on the counter to try and nick a draw. I wouldn't have had any shame with that given the current context of where Man United are at the moment. But again, it's not the Europa League, is it? Let's be honest. We're already out of anything, any form of race in the Premier League. So you can look at the relegation situation. Go, are you going to get relegated? I don't think we will. Respectfully, we somehow managed to churn out results. So I think the most disappointing thing, which is really sad, is Xerxes being injured because you already know I'm a big fan of Amad Diallo from the longest, since his debut. and we haven't got anything like that. Zirkzee the only one who's looking like he's got some fire up top. Not saying again he's a Ferrari, as you said, quote unquote. I'm not saying he's that, but he is that in comparison to what we have up front. So yeah, it's just a shame that we got the injuries. And positive, I guess, is seeing Luke Shaw back on the pitch, but you know he'll probably be injured again before Thursday, so that's pointless talking about him. It's just a load of bullshit again. What else can I say, Terry? Didn't deserve the win. I'm sorry. I normally like to break things down and I'll be honest, but that's as honest as I can be. Newcastle, the better team, expected them to win based on form, and they did what they had to do given the form that they are in. That's not an excuse to say that we shouldn't try or that we shouldn't actually go and make an attempt of it. But I think up until half time, we did what we could, and then mentally we just collapsed. And the pressure of how good Newcastle are, where they didn't buckle under their pressures because they were never going to because of the form they're in, like I said, and the confidence they're in. There was no room for error for us, and we've got errors in us daily. I feel sorry for the goalkeeper. We'll touch on the goalkeeper quickly. I feel sorry for the goalkeeper. Again, I agree with you. Onana had to be dropped. Not because of the stinker itself, but I think it's because he opened his fat mouth, man. I'll just keep it 100 with you. If he didn't open his mouth against Leo and had that and had that performance, I think he still gets in goal today against Newcastle. Because how many times have we seen Onana get back on form and just make some mad penalty saves and then keeps us in games? He does that. That's the type of keeper he is. He is sporadic. It happens. But Bayndi has got massive shoes to fill. We know he's not a better replacement than Onana. We just hope that he would be better. So on the surface, you think, Bayndi comes in, it's great. But respectfully, that was as good a performance as I remember Evers was against Man City on his debut and had to get pulled off, and we haven't got a replacement. So I feel sorry for both of them, but Onana had to be dropped. And I would go on a limb to say Onana has to start against Lyon. As much as I don't, and I'm not saying that with confidence, I'm just saying it based on his experience to be able to turn things around. We've also seen Onana be able to manage to find form through adversity. Let's just hope that he can have a clanger and he's actually switched on enough to go, you know what? Probably ran my mouth too much. Let me focus on my game. And when he focuses, he can actually be a half-decent goalkeeper. That's just being honest. So I think... Go on, sorry?
No, I was just going to ask real quick. If you're a Man United player in that team, who do you want to see in goal? Do you want to see Heaton? Or do you want to see Onana or by
you never look at Heaton. The reason you won't look at Heaton is because it then actually makes the Onana situation look worse than what it is. I think we as United fans, I'm not one of them. As you know, I'm not one of them. Massive fan base as United. We're very emotional, erratic creatures. So the moment something goes against the grain of the salt, it's the worst thing since sliced bread. Onana is what Onana is. We agree that is what he is. Onana is better than all two goalkeepers that we've got, or the other two goalkeepers. That's a fact. And let's not get it twisted. Like I said, can Bayendi's best ever reach the decency of Onana under pressure? No, I don't think it is. Heaton, when last did he play a game? Does he even play in training? Let's be honest. No, he's probably collecting the ball out the net for training for other goalkeepers and youth academies. It just doesn't make logical sense to do that. Onana's had a shit performance, a shit time. The best bet that we've got is to hope that he actually learns from this bullshit, shuts his mouth, and does what Maguire had to do, humble himself, and actually just play the game.
And I agree. The problem that we have at United as well, it's not defending either goalkeeper, isn't criticizing them. We need changes, and we're not able to make all those changes until the summer, and we still won't make all of them. We're not like a fighter or a tennis player that needs to improve on the part of their game and can take 6 months off training and working on that and then come back and compete again and be better. You have to play through that pain. And there is a reason. And of course, if you don't like Ten Hag, if you want him out, or if you're someone that's turned on him.
You mean Amorim?
Amorim, sorry. I was reading about Ten Hag. If you're someone that's against him, for so many managers that we turn against, if you're someone that's against him, you'll ignore you ignore the facts that he didn't want to come in mid-season because the club wanted to change every facet of the way we play football, and his feedback was that's going to make us look really bad in the short term, and it's going to be painful, and we're going to suffer, and we're going to have, and this is why I trust him to a certain degree. There isn't anything that's happened to us in these 30 odd games, and I saw someone tweet a minute ago, 10 losses in his first 30 odd games. Is this the worst ever? Have we done the right thing? I mean, he didn't quite predict the numbers, but he literally said there's going to be loads of time. Go watch his first interview. He went, there's going to be loads of games where we get exposed. He went, there's going to be loads of games where we suffer and it's awful. He said, but in 12 to 18 months, we'll be in a better situation. It's not that I thought it was a lie when he said that. I just didn't think it would be this bad. I knew it could be bad if we actually had a proper overall. And that's just why I sort of sit there and think, as much as we can debate the goalkeeper situation, the real answer is, until we buy a new one, it's never going to be great because they're both not good enough, if that makes sense. And there's very little we can do between now and the end of the season. It's the best of a bad situation, if I'm being honest. But yeah, it's a painful position to be in, but it's what happens with 12 years of consistent dog shit recruitment. You're left with all these legacy issues, man. Mo, what you here to say, brother?
Yeah, I'm mute, bro.
You don't turn your mic on.
Nothing. Nada. No.
He's into Milan fans, man. Big.
Good, probably. It's good, probably. He's probably going to chat shit. I'm joking. Let's try it.
I was going to ask before, I don't know if Mo gets on, but Mainu didn't play. Is it because he's coming off an injury? Like, because I thought if you're going to have the two in the middle, Mainu would be a better option than, I don't know, whether it's
he only returned for the previous game and came on for like 15, 20 minutes. He got another 15. I think what Amorim has done with today was the longest amount of game time Mount's got. He didn't even give Maguire any minutes, but in recent games he brought Maguire on as a sub, and then he started him, but he took him off after 60 minutes and then took him off to 70. So it's about bleeding him back in. And this is where there's the Man United fan in me that wants to win is like, no, just start him. At the same time, you start him today, and the muscle goes. Hopefully, we make the semi-finals of the
Europa League,
and then we're going to need him. And if we rush him at this, Arsenal are doing it with Saka in exactly the same way. He started some games, he's come on the sub. Is it coming through, Mo? Try going out and coming. What I'll do, I'll kick you out. Try coming back in again. Sometimes that works. So yeah, I was a little disappointed not to see him start, but I think Ruben's doing it to kind of bleed him back in slowly.
Start against OL.
Yeah, I think he might start against them because I saw a difference when, again, you guys, it's always hard because you 4-1 up. But when he came on and was on the ball, I just saw a difference than everyone else that was in our central midfield.
Level of competence.
Yeah, on the ball was just better. But that's why we need more people like him at the end of the day on a technical level. And that's why it's hard. I mean, there's a lot of people online right now. I want to ask rivals this question, yourself, Toon and Steve. For the Man United fans saying, don't spend any money on this manager, sack him, don't give him pre-season, he's got to go. Ooh. What's your response to that as outsiders from the Man United situation? Would that be the correct move for Man United to sack him now?
You go first, Phil. I got to think about that. I can't lie.
No, I think no, it wouldn't be. I think we talked about it before, Terry, and I think I heard you talking about it more in terms of just, I don't know, I'm not sure if Man United, so those Man United fans know what pain is. Like this is a painful process in the system. For me personally, from the outside looking in, I can see the idea of what Amorim is trying to do. And if he's already been honest from the beginning of the season that, hey, me coming mid-season, it's not gonna all click. It's all gonna be pretty painful, and that's what you've got. If the Man United fans are saying this because of, for instance, say the best. I'll look at the best of the argument, which is there's been players. I've heard people say that there's been players that have been available, but he hasn't played them, and it's made things worse. I can't come to mind which players that were at the time. Then maybe that's one thing, but I don't think it's enough to suggest that the manager won't be able to do better with better players. He very much would. I saw your game against, I think it was against Forest away, and you kept the possession pretty well. I know that you lost 1-0, but I think you were the better team overall in parts anyway. So I think there's an idea of what Amorim is trying to do that is there, but he needs the players to be able to carry that off. Even if you look at Sporting Lisbon, obviously he's got Trincao up front. He's had what's his name, Eucharist up front. He's had Quenda on the sides, and he had various kind of really I forgot to jump with Diomande. Establish it.
Established midfield two of Morita and Hillman.
Exactly. So big, strong Diomande at the back as well, like really athletic, technical players. I don't see the reason why you can't trust him with players and see the process out. I think it makes things worse if you don't stay with him. The only reason I would, if you are gonna sack him in the summer, is if he totally loses the dressing room. Like, and you're gonna have more of the same players going to the second half. But otherwise, I wouldn't do that.
That I agree with, and it's just such an interesting conversation for me because a lot of our previous managers, the last 2 or 3, have adapted to the players, and we know that doesn't work in the long term. We've got the proof and the facts that don't work.
Yeah.
So any new manager that comes in, again, it doesn't matter what the style is. People are so obsessed with that. Anyone saying to these players, "You're going to play my way," and we're going to drill it until it's perfect and add players, I still think you're going to go for a similar problem to what we're going through now, especially if you start that mid-season with a squad that's still got Louis van Gaal's players in it, right? Let's just be very, very clear. And BN Sport are debating that, is he the right guy to take United forward? My problem is the most important element of the debate around rebuilding the club gets ignored. They talk about the manager like the only issue is that we've got a very good squad that needs a player or two.
Like it's Ferguson.
Like it's Barcelona of last year, where they've got a very good squad, and maybe the manager isn't getting the best out of them. They're ignoring. So, and I see it all the time when people talk about, well, what phase is flicking, and I'm like, well, go back and look at everything written about Jordi Cruyff when he came into the club after all those arrests 3 or 4 years ago. Look at what they did very quickly to plug all the problems before they became long-term issues at the football club, to get it back on track, to make. They still haven't fixed themselves financially, because that's a different kettle of fish. But you actually do some research into what Jordi Cruyff did when he came in, the roles that he undertook, what they rebuilt. Xavi was part of that. And then they're at a point where they've just basically, Xavi ain't the best coach. We need someone better. And they've been able to move it on. But that was a Barcelona club and team that wasn't 12 years in the mire. It was about a 12 to 18 month period where they wobbled. The problem is that it doesn't matter whether it's the mainstream media or YouTubers, the root cause problems at the club are still not being discussed. And everything always goes back to the same discussion. Every manager, is the manager good enough? There's so many other problems that I don't even think are down to Ruben Amorim that we never want to speak about. And that's my problem. I don't think, again, if we just sack him and go in another new direction, like we've done all these other times, I'm just going to keep saying the irony is I keep getting told I'm wrong about wanting to stick to a process and stick to a style of football and build a squad for that. The problem is everybody now that wants him out is asking for us to do the same thing we've done 7 times prior that failed. How can they not see that doesn't work? It's mad to me.
You guys can hear me now for sure.
You're
back, brother. You're back.
100%. For some whatever reason, my mic was not working. Listen, all I have to say is that all what you guys say about Man United is probably true. The rebuild will take a lot of time. Today's game showed that difference in levels between the two clubs and between the building of the two teams. Because I think Newcastle, even though they aren't the best team in the league, they have arguably in a combination the best trio in midfield of the league, the most physical ones, and now they are contributing with goals. Man United have a very long way to be a big club again. You're a big club by fan base and by money only, but in terms of players and stuff like this, you don't basically. Ruben Amorim said it himself. We're not a big team anymore. Nobody fears us. Yes, the goal you scored is kind of an adrenaline rush. Ugarte turning, Dalot running. But in terms of like fear, Man United don't put fear on anyone, to be honest with you.
Yes.
On anyone in the world at the current moment. And by the way, fear is a massive factor in playing football games. You might not have the best team, but sometimes fear and being a big stature.
Real Sociedad. We put some fear in Sociedad. I'm not having that, mate. I'm not having that.
But seriously, like you look at today's game and you don't think that Man United players are that bad. They aren't this bad, right? We have seen some glimpses of them, but Newcastle had no fear. And I think it's a long way for Man United. I actually think that Ruben Amorim will get sacked. Actually, because I don't think that Man United will crack the top 6 and the top 8 anytime soon. You might get better. You might start playing better football when you get better players. But I don't think you have the financial capacity, based on every show I watch and every report I see, to replace about 6, 7, 8 players. The likes of Russell Smoyland, you need a left back, you need a right back, you need a goalkeeper. Where are you going to get all of these? I don't know. So probably next season, we will see the majority of these players play again for Manchester United. It'll be the same old. You're not going to... Ruben Amorim did not change the mentality of the football club, did not change the mentality of these players. And it showed today the likes of Bruno Guimaraes, as Philip said, he showed who's the real Bruno. Tonali was not even highly rated in Italy that much. But look at how the mentality shift within 1 year of joining the club, even being suspended for months. He plays with no fear, and that is the difference. If Tonali joined Man United, I promise you, Tonali would have been similar to Casemiro or
He would
anyone
improve
else.
them, but he wouldn't hit the heights of where
He wouldn't. No, he wouldn't.
I'd have to disagree. I can't lie, because again, there's this notion that people are forgetting that when you play for Man United, and it's not from, I'm not talking from arrogance. I'm talking about the pressures at United are completely different. I keep having this conversation. I'm finding we're having to have the same conversation. A lot of football fans in the YouTube world are so focused on talent and talent alone, and that's enough. Terry will tell you this. I will tell you this. From an athlete's perspective, you have to have the ability to apply your talent to what has been asked of you under pressure. That is the key moment that people are missing.
You don't have the same pressure at other clubs. That's what you keep telling yourself, Najee. The problem is you don't.
Can I finish? Could Tonali come into this Manchester United under the pressure? And I'm not talking about the pressure of Man United being big, Mo. I'm talking about, there's one thing playing for Fergie when everything's great. There's a pressure there, yes, to maintain the standard. Fine. But to get Man United back to winning ways under the circumstances that Man United are running under is a completely different pressure. There's no room for error, even though the constraints are telling you Man United are not in a position to even challenge. So when there's no likelihood that you can see Anthony go to another club, the pressure's different, the talent then comes through because expectations are different. This is what I was saying to Terry before. There are certain players that you have to bring in that have a mental capacity to, one, be able to apply their talent, even if they aren't as talented as Sancho or talented as Rashford, whatever you want to label it as, whatever talented player, even if they aren't as talented, can they apply their talent under pressure consistently to go and get results while following what the manager wants? Those are the type of players you have to look for. It goes beyond just having talent alone. So I don't believe Tonali comes into this Manchester United team and produces what he does for Newcastle. I don't believe he has that mental capacity.
I don't think he does. But for a different story. No, hold on. I don't think he does, but for a different reason. I think the majority of the people that come to Man United now become just losers. Basically, the majority of the players with time, they become losers. That is not a dig. That is not banter. It happened at Inter for 8 years when we didn't make Champions League. Every player that came, João Mario, for example, with a Portuguese winner, came to Man United within some time, he became a loser. Why? Because the whole club was rotten, bro. Everything, all the players we used to sign used to be rubbish. Everything that happened at the club, we actually signed Guarín, who was very highly at Porto, came to Inter, became rubbish. He played very good in the beginning, and then by time, we're not talking about pressure, Najee. We're talking about the way the club runs, the way the kit man thinks, the way the staff thinks, the way the cook thinks in the back. Everyone.
That's pressure, Mo. That's where pressure comes from.
Man, if you can say that, that is pressure everywhere. Then. When I say pressure is that Man United, for example, don't have the same pressure as Arsenal Football Club, as Liverpool now, as even Pep Guardiola's team.
Worse. It's most definitely worse. I don't.
It's not.
Okay, all right. You name
How do you quantify pressure?
You name a club outside of Manchester United that has been in this one situation that we've been in, similar to AC Milan back in the day in United. Find me a club close to that, because I don't think you find one just the same in that situation. Then on the top of that, then go and find me where media still have this ideology, fan base have this ideology that because the name is in ruins, because Man United are struggling, or because their football club is struggling that much, that they have then the excess pressure. We don't see any other media outlet outside of Fabrizio Romano who keep talking about Man United, even though we're shit, miss the context of anything. When Arsenal were rebuilding, when Liverpool were rebuilding, the level of pressure was completely different, and it was nowhere near worse. So I've got rival fans in my DMs that I love, that I know personally, who still go, "You're the biggest club in the world. You did. No context, and they know what they're doing.
Well, they're talking like this. You know what I would say as well, Sonshine. So to add on this, right? I get your point, Mo, but this is where I call a bit of bullshit on it. When Man United, remember when I said this on the show and it didn't go down very well? When Man United were making people redundant, this was the rhetoric. You're the biggest, most iconic club in this country. How dare you do that? And so, hang on. If we're the most biggest and the most iconic, but at the same time, people say we're irrelevant and no pressure, no one cares about us anymore. It's only people pick and choose when they want to put us on a pedestal as the pinnacle and the flagship and the and sort of the face of English football. They pick and choose. Now, it's either in those moments like the redundancies, which, by the way, we all condemned. It's either in those moments you're lying and you're morally posturing about our size and who we are, or we really are that side. There is a massive amount of pressure. Graham Souness spoke about this hugely. And by the way, I'm not saying other clubs don't have pressure, but Graham Souness spoke about how even in his day when Man United were crap, relegated crap, no matter what was going on, Liverpool were killing it. He said still back then, didn't matter what Liverpool were doing, what Everton were doing, what Arsenal were doing. These teams were killing it in England and in Europe. Forest, Man United were Planet Hollywood. He went, everything they did just got more attention, more noise, more scrutiny than the sides that were winning. Now that's me listening to someone who was playing in that era.
Yeah.
I wasn't alive then, and I don't think it's changed very much between now and then, personally.
Because when you guys,
I'm sorry, I have to go. I know that there was a problem with my mic. I still need to fix it actually because it's coming through the wrong output completely actually at the current moment. But apologies. I want to say the last thing about this. I think Newcastle might challenge for the league next season. Actually, they might not win it, but they might challenge.
I am
for the
willing
league
to
next
entertain that
season.
You guys could, but this is also what I find ironic, right? You guys could. Some Newcastle fans 4 months ago wanted the manager sacked and were fuming. No, you did, but it's not a dig. Yeah. I'm pointing out here that this is where we go. Why give someone time? Because things go up and down, and that's why I think knee-jerk reactions sometimes. Can throw you out. But in terms of the pressure, this just shows the difference in size. The Daily Mail right now, the headline isn't. This is what I would say. The headline isn't about Newcastle being brilliant. Newcastle's run. It's all about Man United produce another terrible performance, biggest defeat this, biggest defeat that. You go onto all the different newspapers now. Nearly all the headlines, they won't be in Newcastle. Every national newspaper, it'll be United bad, not Newcastle good. And I think that's a reflection of why the pressure at Man United hits different.
I took the pressure.
Man United still make headlines.
I took the pressure. I just took the pressure that Mo was talking about, and maybe I was going to ask Neji a little bit about a distinction between how he looks at the pressure, because you guys are talking about an external pressure, i.e., the media said this, the media said that, and people have this perception of Man United as Hollywood. I took it from what Mo was talking about and kind of agree with it, is the internal pressure. So do you have an internal pressure within your club, from your training, from your academy? Because I spoke to him, because Matic, for instance, I heard what Matic said in terms of his experience of going to Man United is a different one, where he came from Chelsea at the time, who were winning leagues and whatever. And he was expecting the same thing when he went to Man United, but in fact, he became a lot more commercialized.
I think you're spot on. I don't think there is the same pressure internally to win. Maybe from certain sectors, there might be some people at the club. I don't think Man United winning league titles has been the priority for 12 years.
Right.
So that I agree with. But then I also think that's why the players also can't handle the pressure. So I do think we've signed some weak people. But I think you get the external pressure, fans, media, rivals, and then internally, from day one, that pressure isn't reciprocated in the other direction. What you almost need is a force, an unstoppable force, and an irremovable object together. Pressure from the outside, pressure from the inside, and then pressure creates diamonds. The problem is there's all this pressure coming down on us from outside, and there's nothing internal. So we implode. We implode all the time because we're not structured right.
So how do you reverse that?
I think for me, there's not a quick answer to this. For me, this is why you can't fix it by just changing manager or signing some new players. Yeah. It has to be a steady change, because the one thing we don't have that when you got new owners you had, I mean, the world was happy for you when you got them, barring the people virtue signaling. Most people were like, oh, well, congrats. Oh, I wonder what this is going to look like. Man United, listen, it's the other way around. People want it to foul. So we are never going to be able to turn that round quickly. It's about building a structure of people, instilling a standard, and one of those standards is having an ideology of how you want to play football, and you stick to it and you don't adapt. And if a player isn't good enough or doesn't work hard enough, they get moved on. Someone better comes in. That's one component of it. There's multiple others, and I don't know what they all are in detail because I don't work in football. All I can do is look and read about all the clubs and the great things that they have built. And then if you can make the squad work in the right way and you have the right players who want to win, if the club is always pushing that dressing room to get to that level, if the manager's mind is always on that, I think it's a slow burner, though. I think it's like losing weight and going to the gym. I don't think you can go from looking like I do now to be Mr. Ripped with a six-pack in 6 months. I think it's going to take you to do it properly and healthily without taking any kind of drugs. I think and doping. I think it's going to be a long, hard, painful process to get back to that stage, which is why I'm not an advocate of just let's sack the manager, let's start again, start again. We can't keep starting again. We've got to ride through some pain, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. And to answer your question as well, I wasn't just saying, I was giving one example of pressure. I do acknowledge that there are internal pressures as well, so don't get it twisted if you did. But yeah, again, in my opinion, I can talk off experience, not that I run a football club, just sport and whatever else. My experience in terms of reversing pressure, you have to ultimately take backward steps. You've got to get back to a balanced level. And sometimes that means reducing things. In training, we used to have my coach always used to say to me, don't try harder, try less. I never used to understood that at all. When he says try less, it means relax. You've already got the components. So you're forcing it too much. Yeah. When you continue to add, for example, let's say I went through, it's going to sound really boring now to anyone who doesn't like sport or specific training, but so an example I've got. So let's say I go through a metro cycle of training and I get to normally December, January time, and I'm doing my power phase. That's like me doing a month of power phase and going, that's the best I feel. And then because I feel so great, then I keep adding a power phase on top of missing out the hypertrophy and then the flexibility and then the speed work and all of the things. It's like you add pressure to yourself because you're not completing your whole journey. So you have to go through the cycles. And when there's a level of pressure, in my honest opinion, you have to strip it back to basics. You have to have an identity. You have to clear out what you knew and what you thought about Manchester United, which is why I've been saying for the past 3-4 seasons to United fans when we're having debates or disagreements, you've got to lose this ideology that we are big Man United. From a team, as a team, as a club, we're always going to be massive. I'll always have respect for Blackburn. I'll always have respect for Nottingham Forest, just for an example. Whatever, Juventus, whatever. I've always have respect for them. Why? Because their heritage is football heritage. However, where we are right now, we are not big Man United. We don't operate like big Manchester United. So how do we operate? We operate like a relegated club and have done for the past, let's be honest, 10, 12 years if we're being over the top. So now we have to use that reality and go, how do we change that reality for the next 2, 3, 4 years? Okay, well, let's bring a manager in of some form who has some potential. And then let's actually build a footballing structure that allows you to have consistency within that. Outside of that, sadly, is going to be the fan base, which is where I think me and Terry push back on a lot of fan base who are going to always have an instant reaction, emotional reaction to results, etc., etc., etc. And always going to hold them to a standard because I just don't think they've had an experience where they've had to rebuild themselves in something and then go and perform again, or where they've had to maintain a level of success, whether that's in business or sport. So they don't have an idea. So we can't expect them or that group of fan base to understand how processes are built and worked to a certain standard. You can't. So ultimately, you then go, okay, well, you look at Ineos, and this is why I don't think Ineos are too tough at the moment. Yeah, they're making some uncomfortable decisions, and it's obviously throwing the fan base around, but I don't think it's wrong for them to do it. They could have gone around things a little bit better, but in the main, their goal is, can we get them back to the main stage? You have to understand that. And what do we strip back? We have to strip back as many things as we can, whether that's players, whether that's staff, whether that's ticket price, whatever it is. Someone's going to have to feel some pain somewhere, regardless of what it is. We've got £89 million coming up to transfers, and that's before we've even got a new player in, as he's already quote unquote said. So these are the realities of what we're working with. So can we then go and find a player, like I said, who may not be the biggest name on the block, but he may be mid-table level. I'll give you a prime example. When Liverpool were rebuilding under Klopp, they brought Emre Can in. He went through one, in my opinion, if you look at it, went through one of the best processes of rebuild. He was a starter, then he became on the bench, and then he ended up going. Emre Can was a decent player. But for where they were in that rebuild, he was so significant to maintain the standard. Then he went to the bench because the owners and the board then replaced him with better
over time. And the problem is with a lot of Man United fans, they look where Liverpool are now. They'll look, for instance, again, Newcastle haven't reached the pinnacle yet. You've won the League Cup, you're in Champions League, you haven't won a Premier League yet. And I don't mean that as any disrespect, but what you get, there's Man United fans this season, they go, oh, look what Villa are doing, look how good Forest look. even with Newcastle, how well you're doing, people ignore all the stages, the money, the time, how long a manager's been there, and everything that's gone, that's led to that point. So when Klopp won that league title in 2020, that was 8 years after FSG came in and started to rebuild that football club. Now, I'm not saying it should take 8 years or you have to make it wait 8 years, but people often look at the end result. And I had a friend of mine who's a United fan. He was a salesperson like me. And he basically said, I think it's all bullshit, Terry, about building something. He went, when I used to go into companies, I used to go in there and get given a target and I'd smash it instantly, or I'd run a team and make that team brilliant. I said, yes, but he used to sell like telecommunications. So, but you went in and there was a sales process. Yes. There was products. Yeah. Good products. Yes. Great brochures. Yes. Great marketing. Yes. A brand name that got you through the door for meetings. Like when I was at Barclays, I said I'm from Barclays. People go, oh, come and see us. He went, yes. I said, you already had like a good boss. Yes. There's already a sales team for you to manage who were high quality. Yes. So the structure was built. If you'd have gone into that team and there was no product, no brochures, no marketing, a brand name that nobody had heard of, you had to hire your own team from scratch, is it likely you went in there and hit your numbers as quickly straight away? No, it'd be impossible. But you've answered the question here. Yeah. We don't have anything. We are broken. It needs to be stripped out and rebuilt. So the idea that we can do that instantly is crazy because I can't see any examples in English football. Now, I don't think it should take 4 or 5 years to do what Newcastle have done this season, as an example.
Because it didn't take us 4 or 5.
So I don't think. I think we can become next season if we buy right. Sorry if I've used if people. If we buy well in the summer, I don't see why next season we can't be in and around where the sort of Nottingham Forests down to where say Fulham are now. We could be in and around that mix
for European spots.
Yeah, if we get a couple of players that can score and create, we make the midfield more powerful and quick. We get the fullbacks on both sides and improve the goalkeeper. Yeah, and I don't see why we can't improve next season in that way. If we buy badly, though, it won't go that way. But then it's step changes. Then it's about making sure the levels are there, the internal pressures continue to improve. And say we do go, wow, let's just say hypothetical. This is to answer your question about how we improve the pressure. So viewers, this isn't me saying we're going to do it. I've got to explain that to the toaster people. If we were to come fourth, then though is what I would then want to see is between the manager and Ineos and everybody internally is it isn't well done, you come fourth, we've achieved. It's well done for hitting that marker, but that up there is still the goal. So I'm someone that believes in celebrating milestones, but you still don't stop pushing towards your target and where you want to get to. And I think that's been one of our fundamental problems at the club. Outside of the football and the manager and the tactics and who you like and don't like as a player, I think we've got into Champions League football and the club relaxes and thinks we've done it. We'll get over the line and win a League Cup or an FA Cup, and it's we've achieved now. We've won something. We don't need to keep pushing forward to that next level. And the players are accountable and the managers, but for me, it's about the people that run the club. And when I look at where Forest are, where Villa are getting back to, when I look at what you guys are doing, yes, Eddie Howe's important. Yes, Tonali and Gomadas and Isak are there, but it's the people that run your club that's a heartbeat and they set the standard. The difference now, back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, the manager run the club. The owners owned it, but the manager run the club. Managers don't run football clubs anymore. It's run by your sporting directors and your board. Your head coach is a component of that. So for me, there is no quick fix. Doesn't matter. We could get Pep in the summer and buy 10 new players. We are not challenging for the league title anytime soon. It is going to take time to implement. And what you'll also get is, and we've all seen this in real walks of life, you try improving standards, you try and push people harder. You always get those members of staff that, or colleagues or fellow students that try and push back against it, don't want to work harder, get annoyed that suddenly, I used to take a coffee break at that time. They want to put a meeting in it. Fuck that. I'm not going to work hard in that meeting. We've all been around people like that. I don't think footballers are different just because they earn more money, especially if the standards have been low. But the idea you can go from here to there with the click of your fingers, I just can't find a single example in major business, major sport, where that has happened after such a long and rotten decline. And that's my problem with the conversation. It's just everything's very basic and it cuts out all the components of getting to that end result, if that makes sense. And that's the problem for me. So it's doable. We can get there. I don't have all the answers because I'm not internal.
Yeah.
But the one thing I'm sure about is just sacking a manager and buying a few new players. 110% will not ever fix Manchester United Football Club ever.
So with Amorim, I don't think it's a matter of like, oh, I think he deserves to get sacked or whatever. But the problem is that there's a flip side to it. If you're trying to advocate for what he's done, so credit in the bank, right? Credit in the bank for Amorim if he goes out and does what I don't think you guys will do, is to go and win Europa League. I think what he needs to do is to get some credit in the bank. I think that's the problem. He's not making 1-0 Leon, by the way. And I got that. I was offside. Never mind. The thing is, he to back someone, you do need to have some sort of credit in the bank. And like I said, I don't expect Man United to win the Europa League. But when I hear people talk about, or some Man United fans say, we should be winning the Europa League, even though this season has been what it's been for you guys. I think
it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous to say we should be winning it. I think we've got a chance to win it. We've definitely got a chance, but it's ridiculous to say we should be. That is still living in the past for me. Kevin here says, to your gym analogy, yes, we won't see results until 1 year or more. Well, no, you will see results, but you just won't get to your end goal straight away. But Amorim is the fast food that we need to cut. Backing the wrong man is regression. Now, again, I can accept that opinion because that is very different, Kevin. That's an educated opinion. You agree with my overarching view that we need to build something from scratch and it's going to take years to get to the top. You just disagree with the person leading the first team.
Yeah,
I can accept that as an opinion. What I can't accept is the low IQ, bring me a proper coach and bring me a couple of ballers and we're back. I can't accept that bullshit because those same people have said, and that's the problem when you break down, when people start to delve into when I say, well, what kind of manager do you want? Doesn't matter. Well, it does, because we've just spent the last 6 months implementing a brand new style with certain components. Say you do sack the manager and get your way, Kevin, but the next new guy does it completely differently. You're starting from scratch again.
You have to see it out. You have to see it out.
I think this is the... Sorry, go on. You're about to learn, bro. Do you think?
No, I was just gonna say that you have to see it out. Like, even if you're not convinced of Amorim or whoever, you're right. You've done the 6 months. You're in a position where I think you have to see it out. Unless you're in a position where he's totally lost the changing room, I don't see a reason for him. That's it. Sorry, that was it.
No, I agree. This here says, you could be Spursy, stick with the style of play and get slapped 16 times in a season. The thing is, though, they're not just losing Spurs, because this is the thing where I do agree, though, and it's more complex than just a style of play. Spurs are sticking with a manager as a style of play, but his brand of football is never going to work with the caliber of player they get for him and are able to make him sign. So that's also, again, if someone thinks, Terry, we could never sign the players to make Amorim's system work, that makes sense to call it out. That is fundamentally different from saying, just bring me a better coach, which is very basic and has no grounding. So again, there is a conversation to be had here, but still, I think the basic, remember, I'm not married to any coach or style. I don't care what the style of football is, but it needs to be something. The difference between us and Spurs, I do think we have the money and still have the fame to bring in the quality of player to make any manager in the world system work. Personally, we're not Tottenham, even though we're both 13th and 14th or 15th and 16th in the league. We're not Tottenham and never will be. I hear your point, and that's why these are not basic, easy conversations like Sky Sports, TNT Sports, beIN Sports are going to have. Don't listen to the mainstream media on this shit. They still think net spend is real. Man United have big pressure because of the name, not because of their football. I hear you, but our football's crap. We know that. Amorim may or may not be the guy to get United winning Premier Leagues and Champions Leagues because he should win more. But him dropping Onana and binning Rashford shows he is setting good culture that was badly needed. You know, sometimes when it comes to culture, because the one thing I would say about Newcastle, I'd never heard any of this externally. There wasn't any kind of stuff I would hear as an outsider that your players were misbehaving bad. There was, there was not like a lack of professionalism at your club. It was just more lack of quality players, bad managers and an ownership that didn't care, but I could be wrong about that. The issue is that when you start fixing these things, you don't always see the benefits of these decisions straight away. And that's the irony. And all the Man United fans that showed their bums and want him gone, if this time next year we're fourth and playing beautiful football and you can really see where we're going, they'll just ignore they've ever said it. Most of them. And I'm just also willing this time around, and I'm very open about this. I'll get no credit for it if he turns out to be a bust. He could fail. I'm just willing this time, even more than ever, just to give it some time. And I know that's an evil word in football. Phases and time and processes and having faith and actually supporting your club is an evil thing to do. You should just have high standards. You should moan and shout and always demand people get sacked. I just don't see how that fixes us, considering we've done it 7 times prior in the last 12 years and we keep going backwards. I am just asking for us to do something different. And, you know, I could be wrong. I could be right. I want to try something different.
No, you're right, Terry, honestly. And it does go back to, again, a conversation that I observed and had to have. I said, well, look, if you want Man United back to the standards that the whole world think it is, and what I'm assuming fans want, then you are going to need time. If you're happy just to compete in cups and try FA Cups, League Cups, never challenge for the title, maybe do a random Leicester season one day or a random Liverpool season with great VAR joke on top of that. You know, if you're happy to do that, then we can keep the sacking culture going on. That's no problem. But if you're genuinely trying to rebuild your club to a standard, then first and foremost, you have to understand what Fergie had to do to build his club. You have to understand that. Then you also have to look at it and go, when a manager comes into a club, what pedigree did he come on with? The guy who commented is saying he's fast food. What credentials did you put above Amorim to make him seemingly be fast food? You've got to look at it and go, okay, well, what is he bringing? What did you expect? Are your expectations in alignment with reality, given the context of what you know about Man United? If it isn't, then ultimately you've got to look at yourself and go, I'm not looking for the right lens. And if he came in, Terry, if he came in and did a Sporting Lisbon job at United, you know, he's been here for 4 years. He built it up to a level, and then he was performing like this after 6 months. Even then, I'd still say, you know what, it's only been 6 months, but we can start worrying because we know what he's done at Man United for 4 years already. We get that, but he's been here 6 months. So the constraints that are above every manager you bring in, it just doesn't make any sense to say or make claims that he's fast food. You could be right and say he is fast food. And I would say you're probably making an intelligent guess, but I don't think you've got enough body of work to even come up to that conclusion yet.
And look, he might be a bust. He might be an awful manager. Time is going to tell on this. I do still think, though, for a lot of the United fans are switching on him. When I look at the usernames, some of the people in our comment section, people online, other YouTubers, the ones that are turning on him already, they're the same ones that have never understood the conversation about what's really wrong with Man United, what it needs to fix us. They don't even understand the history of their own football club on how it was built, how we became so great. Yeah. And when you ignore all of that, of course, you're going to have a very diluted, basic view of how it wasn't just we hired a brilliant coach in Fergie and became what we were. It was 7 years of restructuring the football club to get it to a position where it could dominate English football and be one of the best teams in the world for a quarter of a century. It wasn't we were bad. We hired Fergie. We dominated for a quarter of a century. Yeah. We fundamentally, it didn't happen like that. And I think that even if you just look at your own club, there's a difference. And yeah, it's just a hard conversation. I know people want the success. I know people want it quickly. The problem is I just don't see there ever being a quick solution.
Does anyone else get the vibe that maybe you guys got a really good manager, but maybe the timing, right person, wrong time sort of thing? Because
Barry Manilow FC, bro, right love at the wrong time.
Because he didn't want, because I never forget that he didn't want to join in the middle of the season. He didn't. That's what his gut was telling him. It's not like he was, you know, crazy for thinking that. Nobody was like, that's crazy.
But the reason is now, and Man United fans that hate him or don't want him here ignore this. It's because it's the reason that Liverpool didn't hire him. Not because he's a bad coach. The way he plays didn't fit with Liverpool's squad and the way they've been trained for all these years. And it was going to be a massive overhaul. And Liverpool just thought, no, we need someone that's going to come in and pick up the baton from where Klopp left off, and Slot has done that to a very good degree.
Yeah.
There'll be adaptations and slight changes each year, but it's a seamless approach. Amorim's got a very different way of playing football. He wanted to come in the summer so he could start afresh and implement it in pre-season, get new players, because he thinks he would see a better start to life at Man United. But the club said, no, we need someone in now. And the biggest mistake we made wasn't hiring Amorim, in my view. It was keeping Ten Hag. If we'd have started this process properly at the beginning of July last year, I think we'd be in a much better position than we are right now. We'd have bought different players. I think we'd be a better team, and we'd view things differently. I'm just prepared to be patient. Could end up being wrong. Very open to that. And like all the other things I've got wrong, I'll sit here and say, not sorry for it, but yeah, I got that one wrong. But like all the things I got right, my haters will ignore me on and won't show up for the streams. You know, it's just the way it's going to be. It's as simple as that. This year says sports change fast, a clinical forward and a better goalkeeper already move us forward. But that's also very true. Like if you actually go back and look at a lot of our games in the last 3 or 4 months, like things can change quickly. You know, I remember, I'm not saying we'll do what Arsenal did, but when Arsenal missed out on that top 4 spot, I remember that summer it was, that's it. They never make Champions League again. They're done forever. Right. The following year, by December, everyone's saying, fucking hell, Arsenal are going to win the league. So I'm not saying we'll improve that dramatically. Yeah, it was only a few months ago. Again, it's not a dig at anyone who was saying it. There were a lot of Newcastle fans saying, I think we might now need to move on from Eddie Howe. There are still Newcastle fans who think Eddie Howe might be limited in terms of to a certain level that he can get you to and then move on from him. But sometimes I think you just got to be a little bit patient. But it's hard when you've just been battered 4-1. I get it. Look, I want to thank everyone that's tuned in. This is going to redirect you to Mo and Hassam's channel. We're back tomorrow morning for an early edition of Straight Facts. That's going to be 10:30 UK time. So make sure you're all tuning in. Steve, Toon, Sonshine, and everyone else who's tuned in. Thank you to all of the super chatters. Thank you to everyone who tuned in, whether you challenged us or whether you agree with us, doesn't matter. Thank you very much for being here. Until next time, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And congratulations to the Toon Army. Thank you. Bye-bye.